Welcome back to another Gadget Report. Let's talk gadgets. And today I'm going to talk about a very, very special type of gadget. I know it's one of the types that most people wouldn't think it would happen this early, but it's happening and is here. I'm talking about electric gadgets. Yes, you heard, electric gadgets. And in New Zealand, Air New Zealand has tested its first electric gadget. So let's talk gadgets. Let's talk New Zealand. This, I must admit, for me, it's great news. I'm very happy to report this. And when I found this press release and this information, I thought, wow, this is really something important. I need to talk about it. So I'm talking about Air New Zealand first trials of an electric aircraft. Yes, you heard, electric aircraft. I know that for a lot of people, especially for a lot of skepticals out there, it would never happen, it's not possible, this and that. There are all sorts of arguments against it, not even against it, but saying it's not possible. Well, it is, it's here, and we're going to talk about it. So, I'm reading my notes because it's a lot of information. On the 17th of October, Air New Zealand made aviation history. The airline has flown its first electric aircraft. It is a Beta Alia CX300, manufactured in the US, and it made its first test flight in the country. Taking off from Tauranga Airport, the aircraft arrived a week before, and it was received and blessed by a traditional sunrise ceremony. On the 17th of October, it made its first test flight to Hamilton Airport, where it will be based for 2 months until December, and then it will go to Wellington, where it will stay for another 2 months. So this is a test mission where Air New Zealand and the manufacturer can actually test the aircraft and see its behavior, its range, etc., etc. So this is a very, very important mission here. The aircraft has been leased by the airline for a technical demonstrator program, where together with the partners and regulators, the airline will be able to evaluate its performance in the New Zealand weather, for example, and also start pilot and engineer familiarization with the aircraft. So the plan is not only to test the aircraft for New Zealand conditions, but also get the pilots and engineers involved and familiarized with the aircraft itself. Now, let's know a little bit more about this aircraft, the Beta Alia CX300. This aircraft is made by Beta Technologies in the US, and according to this press release, it is built for real flights. So it's not one of these things that it's a prototype, that it's going to be a model, everyone is going to be excited about, and then it dies out and nobody cares and nobody talks about it. It looks like they are really committed to do something here. It uses CTOL, or conventional takeoff and landing configuration, and it's making it's great, or makes for great existing infrastructure. So it's good because since it has the same configuration as any other aircraft, it is obviously good to implement, better because you don't need to change anything. It just uses the same things, so better adaptation, etc. It has a quiet battery electric propulsion and produces zero emissions in flight. So great news all around. It is designed for all types of weather, according to the press release, and it can accommodate 2 crew members, 5.6 cubic meters of cargo, and a range of approximately 398 kilometers. Of course, it's a small aircraft. This is just the beginning of things, but that's how we start. The article also says that the aircraft is designed to leverage the existing infrastructure and fly according to existing procedures, which enable a much better adaptation, which obviously you can understand. If the aircraft can use existing infrastructure and uses exactly the same procedures, it's more appealing to airlines because they don't need to do anything. They don't need to change anything. Also for airports, because there is no changes to the infrastructure to be made. We saw on the video that I made about the A380 that a lot of airports had to do massive changes to accommodate that huge aircraft. And in part, we saw on one of my videos, in part was one of the reasons for its demise. If you don't need to do real changes to your infrastructure, to the procedures, it's really more appealing to implement because there's no inconvenience, if you like, in order to get this aircraft going. Now, my opinion. Well, as you know, I'm really keen in knowing everything about decarbonizing aviation and getting aviation into net zero. I've been, making videos about everything that I find about this topic because I think it is important and I think it is something that we really need to be committed to. We've seen that there's a lot of airlines involved into this target, into this goal, and I do believe that we will get there. This is another big step closer to that happening. Of course, electrification won't happen overnight. It's just not happening, and it won't be that easy. We're talking about aircraft. We're talking about having range and sustainability to have an aircraft to operate long-haul flights. We're talking about Australia to Europe, Australia to the US, Australia to Asia, for example, which are the biggest, or New Zealand to Asia, New Zealand to Europe. We're talking about big trips here, and we know that the aircraft needs a big range for that. So there's a lot of things to be studied. There's a lot of things to be improved before it really happens. We know that. But it's not impossible. And this is just the beginning of it, in my view. The fact that we have companies committed to produce these aircraft, and more importantly, we have airlines interested in the product, because you can create a very good product, but if you don't have a market for it, it doesn't go anywhere. But in this case, not only we have a company that is creating the product, but we already have airlines that are actually looking into it and interested in it, which is great. I think it's a very, very positive sign of things to come. In my view, this is just the beginning. As I said, it's just the beginning. We've seen it happen with cars. It also started slowly, and look where we are now. There's electric cars everywhere. If Beta takes off, for example, like Tesla did, maybe we all be seeing Boeings and Airbuses, electric Boeings and Airbuses in the future. I hope we will. I think it would be great for all of us. And who knows, that will happen. As I said, you won't happen overnight and you won't be as fast as Tesla. Of course, operating a car, it's not the same as operating an aircraft. And we saw, for example, with cars, one of the major obstacles that Tesla and the electric cars had to overcome was the charging stations. And in countries, for example, like Australia, United States, big countries, that spread of electric cars didn't happen the same way as, for example, in Europe, because in Australia, in the United States, we drive very long distances, and if you are driving an electric car, and if you don't have charging stations to charge your car, it's an hindrance, because you would have to find somewhere where you can stay, and of course it will take you longer to get to your destination, and that of course would put off a lot of people from buying electric cars. That's not the case. Things have improved massively. Charging stations have been implemented right across the country. Of course, a lot needs to be done still, but I think we are going in the right direction. But the thing is, with a car, if the car is getting out of charge, you can just go to the next service station, stay there, charge the car, or do whatever, because you are on the ground. If an aircraft is out of charge, the situation is slightly different. So it won't happen the same way it happened with Tesla, of course not, because we are dealing with two different situations. We are dealing with two different ways of transport here. But I believe that if there is a commitment to make it happen, it will happen. It won't happen overnight, and you won't be as fast as Tesla. I don't think you will. But with proper research and will to make that mark on the planet, I believe it can take off. And, well, we may see electric planes flying everywhere. The first one is already has already done it in New Zealand. So who's next? I think this is a really good and positive aspect for aviation, and I can't wait for more news on this front. That's all for today. I hope you liked this gadget report about this very, very special gadget. I must say, I'm really, really, really happy about it. I think it was by far the best news in aviation that I read in a long time. I think this was a very good one. As I said, if this kicks off, if more of these airplanes start being produced and the technology is there, and we prove the skeptics that it is possible, the same way that it was possible with cars, the same way that we see Teslas and all these other electric car brands everywhere today, it may happen in aviation. Yes, won't be that quick, it won't be that easy. It's a totally different approach, it's a totally different environment. So there's a lot more to be considered when we talk about planes to what happens with cars. But it's possible. I think it is possible. And again, I stress, if there's commitment, if there's that will to make it happen, it will happen. Because the whole saying, where there's a will, there's a way. And if there is a will, there will be a way, I'm sure. So this is very good. I'm very happy. Now, I want to hear about you. I want to hear your comments. What do you think about this news? Do you think this will be the beginning of electric planes? Do you think that we will see in the future, we could see maybe a electric Dreamliner or a new electric 320 Neo? Who knows? That would be very, very good. I'm pretty sure the big manufacturers such as Boeing and Airbus, Embraer, those big manufacturers are looking into this. And of course, they are not immune to this technology, and they are not, I don't think they will be denying it, just like the car manufacturers didn't. I know that a lot of the traditional car manufacturers like Toyota, Hyundai, the traditional ones were a little bit reluctant at start with creating electric cars. They went for the hybrid solutions, and there's a lot of hybrid cars around, but eventually everyone came on board, and now we see basically all brands have one or two options for electric cars, which is a very good thing. I think it shows the evolution of things. It shows that we are really walking away from fossil fuels, and it shows that it is possible to live without them, because the whole argument is that we cannot live without the fossil fuels, and we can. If things are done properly, and if things are organized and done effectively and with proper planning, it is possible. And this is the proof. We have electric cars. We started with Tesla. Back then, Elon Musk was committed to put electric cars everywhere, and he did. Actually, he did. We see Teslas everywhere. I would say, the success of the brand was really massive. I remember back in the day, I would see one or two Teslas on the road. Now, they're everywhere. and it's a good thing. And then came all other brands of electric cars that just produce electric cars. And then the traditional ones came along and started producing electric cars as well. So I think what we've seen with cars will eventually happen with planes, of course, in a totally different approach, a totally different dimension as well, because obviously, as I said, it is a different environment. But I think this is the beginning of a very, very good story, and I will be here to report it every single time there is news on this. I will be here to tell you about it. I hope you liked it. I want to hear your comments, or if you have any other suggestion of any other topic that you would like me to discuss in these Gadget Reports, please leave a comment below, and I'll be very, very happy to accommodate it. And put a like and subscribe to the channel with a little click on the bell so you get a notification of a new Gadget Report every week. Before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching. I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye!